Hey, everybody, welcome back to Gardens, the Untold Story. I'm Ken Somerville, my host, co host, Andy Lopez, the Invisible Gardener, and we're going through his book chapter by chapter. And today's chapter, I believe, well, right behind you, number 6, making the organic transition. And it is a real, conundrum for people to move from, putting on chemicals and using chemical fertilizers and those little pellets to making the transition to organic. And it can be a step-by-step process, Andy. And I think that's really what we want to look at in your this chapter is what are the steps to go from, the old ways, the chemical ways to an actual true organic system.
Okay. First thing I want to do is figure out how to share the screen. Where's the button for that?
Present. It's that big box at the bottom.
Is that the little no, not the Leave Studio one, right?
No, not the Leave Studio. It present. It's got the picture with the TV with the plus sign in it.
Share the screen. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna do this one so that we can get this going. How's that? I got the right thing together, didn't I?
All right. Oh yeah, looks good.
Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so here's I did a list of stuff, and of course, this is one of the things I put in my book for a reason, because there'll be a lot of people they're switching over to organic, but they do it all wrong and it doesn't work. Yeah. So then they say, well, organic system doesn't work. So there's a path that you should take, and I have to tell you that I read the chapter in my book. I didn't like it. I have changed my mind entirely. Because it basically said, okay, so using a chemical fertilizer, and I broke it down to 12 months, right? And I said, okay, the first month, use half as much of your chemical fertilizer, and we have to find something else. And I'm going now, no, I'm not going to use any of it. We're going to cut it off. So let's start from the very beginning. You have to understand why. Why do you want to switch to go organic, right? Is this for health reasons? Or you're saying, I'm tired of using the chemicals, I'm getting so sick? Is it for the environment, or I want to help the earth? Is it because I want to grow my own food and I realize that organic food is better than chemically grown food? Do I have a family and I want to take care of the family? So mom and dad saying, and the kids are saying, Dad, you can't use these chemicals. And there are other reasons. Why don't you guys put the reasons you have for going organic in our comments section? Tell us why you switch, if you switch. Me, I've always been organic. I'm lucky I didn't have to switch over. I started 6th grade being organic. But I know so many, every single customer that I get reach a point where they say, no more, this isn't working. And so they call me, and unfortunately, I don't have any control over them, over what they do. In the long run, it's very frustrating, because I give an example. Okay, I know what I'm doing. I like seeing myself, but I can do that now. I have actually an extra screen. Hi, I can see myself. Oh my God. So I love seeing myself. It's just, unfortunately, I can't see the comments too. Where is the comments section? Here we go, comments. So did I do it right? No, I didn't.
I don't know. Are you trying to go to the next slide, Andy?
No, did I just screw up? I did, didn't I?
Well, no, you have your slides up there.
Okay, yeah. All right. So anyway, as I was saying, now I can't even see it. Oh, I screwed up, did I? Yeah. Okay, well, I'll figure it out. Hang on a second. Okay, got it. I stopped sleeping a long time ago. It's just a ridiculous thing. Anyway, so you have to. It's important to. My feelings is that a person needs to be 100% committed. You have to be committed to do it 100%. It isn't 100% if you still have a chemical pest control company coming and spraying your property. That's not going to work. It isn't going to work if you're still have chemicals in your city water. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
So inside your house, you have to use more chemicals than anything else. There's chemicals for this, chemicals for that. Your garage is full of chemicals. You really have to say, it's like a druggie. You're going to have to stop everything. You have to stop. So I think what a lot of times what happens is people get sick and they say, I can't do that anymore, right? And so I have to stop it. So they're forced. Mother Nature said, okay, you want to die horribly or do you want to survive? And so most of the time people don't get to that stage, but it's basically they have to, and if it doesn't work, if you're like 8% organic and 92% chemicals, if you still are using the city water with chemicals in it, or if you're spraying, if you buy a chemical fertilizer. Here's one example that just blew me away. So I was at this lady's house. She says, I want this garden to be organic, but that lawn, I want to use Roundup in it because I want to kill the weeds. I'm going, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a real organic garden, lady. Yeah.
It's like the Roundup is going to stop there and not go any further into your garden. And so it's something that you have to really, really be crazy like me. You have to get to that point where your consciousness says, I want to do this organically. I want to be clean. I want to have the food clean. I want the environment clean. I want to help. So I'm not going to use any chemical fertilizers.
Andy, basically, you have to be committed to doing it, and you can't go halfway. You should, if you're going to do it, just do it. Go 100% organic and forget everything else.
And it's so sad because people they refuse, for example, to cancel the pest control company. So I say, hey, no problem. You want a pest control company? Here's a whole bunch of organic, natural pest control companies. They do not interfere. I like one company says, not one single worm has been harmed, right? Earthworm has been harmed. Okay. I said, yeah, that's the company I want. See what I mean? And so you have to really, and if you're really not serious about it, then you might as well just forget it. You might as well not do it. So you want to go through the process of getting rid of your chemical fertilizers, chemical pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, the way you think. Well, what do I spray that plant with? It's got a disease, right? You have to think differently. You have to say, look, something wrong with my soil.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to think differently. Rather, what can I spray the plant? It's like, talk to me, soil, talk to me. What's going on, right? And so you have to, and then another thing is interesting too. So a lot of people, they quit. They just say, okay, we're not going to do any chemical fertilizers. We're not going to use any chemicals at all. The soil is all we need. And they start growing in there, right? But unfortunately, their soil is dead because they've already been killed from the chemical fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides, everything else they've been using for thousands of years on their property. So you can't just switch over. You have to, first of all, you yourself have to switch over in terms of eating. Your consciousness has to change. You have to say, okay, I'm going to take better care of my tummy, my biome, my body. So when you get to that place where you're happy, healthy, and holy, you can't help but be happy and healthy and holy on your property. One of the things that's important is that organic fertilizers do not work on dead soil. Doesn't do anything. Maybe you get a little bit of nutrition out of it, but if there's no biology to convert it, there's nothing going to happen.
Yeah. Well, so basically the first step, once you've made the commitment, then the first step would be, I have to create a living soil to be able to plant into. So how do they do that, Andy? What are some of the steps, like we understand compost, etc. Are there other things other than compost and that can be used to flip that soil from dead dirt to a living soil?
There are lots and lots of things. I didn't really get to cover all of them here because there's just tons and tons of stuff. I'll give you an example. Milk. There are lots of things that you can spray on your property to help your biology come back to life. Lots of different things. I picked compost because that's the easiest for most people to key into. If they make really good compost, they can start applying it to their property, spraying the compost tea. It's an easy one. But there are lots of other ways that you can spray, that you can make your property more alive.
Kickstart the biology.
Right. We had talked about in the past more about using how to make your own biology tea, whether or not you're using uh, plants are growing in your garden. You can literally take weeds, make a tea out of it, and spray it back on your property. You can spray anything that's growing really well on your property. You can make a tea from and spray it there. You can. One of the things I use lately on my property here is I get people come and say, I thought you didn't drink milk. I said, I don't. That's for the garden. You see? And
And
so
I want to give people just an idea as well. If you have sour milk in your fridge and you have a compost pile, add that to your compost pile. Hugely beneficial, huge amount of food for the biology in your compost pile. But now before I would just pour milk. Andy, how should I break up my soil? Should I use a rototiller? Should I use a broad fork? Like, I've got this dead compacted soil. Do I need to break that up first to actually allow that milk to go into my soil?
You have to make sure you actually have soil. There's a big difference between you have subsurface stuff, which is clay and rocks and stuff. That's not soil. If you have soil that's been compacted, you definitely have to aerate it and help it for the biology to grow, because they won't grow. Biology will not live if oxygen can't get down in there. So you can't start spraying biology on the soil or anything like that, or even put compost on top if you don't break it up, because that stuff underneath it may take you a long time for the biology to work its way through. It will eventually do it, but you want to speed up the process a little bit. Even though my whole thing about no-till is very important, but you have to and immediately when you want to convert over, you want to help the biology to move in. And so we have compacted the soil. We should uncompact it. We should allow it to breathe. That's why you can rototill it. If you have a garden, you can rototill it once. You don't need to rototill it again. Once you break up that hard pan, then you have to start bringing compost. Compost is the best way, but there are lots of other ways that you can incorporate, because a lot of people can't make compost. Buying the compost in the store is not exactly the same thing. Most composts are totally lifeless. There's nothing there for them to use. So you want to start keying into things that are alive. That's why the milk is alive. Anything that tends to go bad on you, it's alive. It's decomposing. It does its own thing. Fish emulsion is an excellent tool to use. I'll give it one more. There's like I said, it's a whole bunch of stuff, and I didn't want to go into it in too big details. But one of my favorite things to do is rice. So I buy organic white rice, and basically the two things that I do with it. One is I make a liquid from it, which basically produces this type of special biology that you can spray, and that's an excellent way to start. You spray it on. It's slowly but sure. If you spray something, there's nobody home, then it's not going to happen. But if you spray and you already rotated, you added some, even if you just added soil, you have a place for the biology to live in. One of the things and the other thing I do with the rice is I actually bury it. Rice, you cook the rice. There's a difference between rice that you cook and rice you don't cook. Okay, rice you don't cook.
Andy, can I specify what the difference is?
Yes, please.
When you cook the rice, it expands the molecules, it breaks everything up so the biology can consume it right away. And that's a short-term fix. If you want the long-term fix, you put in the dry rice that isn't cooked, and that can be considered a long-term inoculation. But especially when you're first starting out, guys, and you've just broken up your soil, adding in that cooked rice in there gives food for the biology to get established. And if you rototill, please, if you can, get yourself a broad fork, because when you rototill, the tines are creating pressure and it's creating a zone of compaction underneath. If you get the broad fork that can go through that layer, that 6 or 8 or 10 inches, and crack that open, you're going to be much better off starting that new garden.
So I read.
We have a question that we'll get to after, Andy.
Okay, no, you can. What's the question? I can't see it because my screen is.
Should I leave the ant pipes to help with the soil breathing or breath, but breathing? Yeah.
Well, those air pipes are really made from plastic, so it's not the ideal uh, type of air pipes you want. What you really want is it's clay. They're made out of clay pipe because they breathe. The water and the biology will stick itself. A stick will grow onto the clay pipe. They won't grow onto the plastic. So if you, I do about what's called tree vents, clay drain pipes. It's hard to buy now because of the tariffs, because they used to come from other countries. They would make and ship it over here. But yeah, any way that you can get oxygen, that air down into the root system. So if you're gonna have pipes down there, the ideal scenario is to rather than pulling it out, it's already there. Usually they have little holes in the bottom so they can breathe and water goes down there. Learn
Oh,
how
okay.
to.
Hold on, Andy. Hold on.
What?
He corrected the spelling. It's not pipes. It's piles. So ant nest.
Oh,
You leave the ant nest. So yeah, you're going off about this stuff, and it's we're both wrong. Sorry.
what is it? Tell me again. What is it?
Should I leave the ant piles to help with the soil to breathe? So the ants have their tunnels going through the soil. Should she leave that, or should she break up those ant piles?
Well, see, here's the thing. See, it depends on the ants and stuff. Ideally, people don't really like to compete with ants, and so and ants have a place in the garden, but they will tend to take over. When you have an ant pile, that basically means that the soil is not controlling the ants, and it means that the soil is not functioning. That's what happened. A living soil will control the ant population and keep it to where it's supposed to be rather than taking over. And so I would not worry about the ant pile, but you definitely do not want to be fighting with the ants. Once you start bringing the soil back to life by rototilling and turning it, I would turn it over. Don't worry about the ants.
Yeah.
The fact that they already did their colony, they already made the tunnels on there, they're already aerating it, and they will slowly move away from your property once you get the biology functioning. It's going to take you a few years to get the biology working. See, so it takes a while. That's why it's important, for example, to stop using city water to learn how to have a filtration system, because no matter what you do, city water will then kill the biology, which then makes it
Yeah.
easier for the ants to be living there, or other creatures and other diseases, because ants tend to spread a lot of things around, from aphids to other creatures as well. So once you learn how to really, I was going to say, I read this book called Lazy Man's Guide to Gardening, and basically what he did was, so he had this really super hard property. The soil was compacted, the water
Yeah.
would run down, and all this kind of stuff. Nothing would happen. So he he uh he went on and bought a whole bunch of cardboard, and he laid cardboard down. So he didn't want to turn the soil over. So what he did was he laid a whole bunch of cardboard down, big layer of cardboard, watered it in, and what happened was is that the cardboard started to break down slowly, actually turned into some type of soil, but it does break down. And the worms, as you said, the worms came up out of nowhere, lived inside the cardboard, and then he would do a drip line on top of the cardboard, then another layer of cardboard on top of the drip line to cover it, and then another layer of something else on top of that. He would either use hay or soil,
So
or
like he was doing a lasagna method, layer by layer by layer.
there you go. Is that what it's called, lasagna method?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's so easy because he had the water down below, and he was very smart too. Because I now I think, I don't know if he actually ever filtered the water out. That would work even better if the water was filtered out, right? It was the clean water. But
Well, I think and I've actually seen the book, etc. I think it was more outside of a city that he was doing it, so he was using well water. But yeah, that guys, if you are in a city or have that city water, you have to get a filter to filter out the water. And Blue Sky Biochar has one, but there's other ones out there. Do some research and get one. But please, the city water has chemicals in it specifically designed to kill the biology. you're trying to bring back to your soil. So if you're going to just use city water, then get off our channel. Don't bother listening to any of this, because you're just going to kill the biology we're telling you is going to make you healthy.
Listen,
Okay? So, period.
there's a company that sells whole property filtration system for $1,900 as opposed to $10,000. I've been turning people on here in Malibu about it because they're paying $10,000 for a whole property filtration system.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is you just go up to my website, do the inquiry forms, and then say you saw the show. Tell me about the filtration system. As a matter of fact, I'll give the information to Ken, and he can put it in the description so you guys can go out there and check it out. You really need to filter out the city water because it's going to defeat everything you do. You may be the best gardener in the world, but you have to constantly be fighting the city water and the chemicals that goes on there all the time. It's a never ending. Eventually you give up and you might as well just stop gardening. But if you're in the country and the odds are that the water is clean, but if you're anywhere in the city, you're definitely going to have to filter it out. And most city people don't have a giant place. You can probably use Michael's filter systems that goes out into your garden. Just put it right in between there. It works fine with a drip system, and that's what you have to. You really have to do that in the long run. Otherwise, it just won't work. So that's why I covered city water a lot in this area here. The truth about city water is that it's not meant for biology. Okay, they don't want
especially Miami-Dade. Okay, like no, it ain't gonna happen.
No, yeah. So that's that, and most people don't seem to understand that because I get a lot of times. My ex-customers are not my regular customers. Now my regular customers, I'm still trying to get. Well, let's see. 4 of them already have filtration systems for the whole property. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think most of the people that watch our show aren't worrying about their grass, etc. They're worried about their garden. So I think let's get back into the transition. So we've broken up our soil. We're starting to add biology. And yeah, it's going to take some time, but what are some of the other things in your book or in your new style that you would want to go to next, Andy?
So one of the things that, and I didn't mention cardboard because you'll be surprised and right. So when you in your garden, you want to get as much organic rice as you can. And it's just when you have turned the soil over, throw the rice on it, cover it all back up again buy some soil, some good clean soil. This is your opportunity to get some nice soil where doesn't have any toxins in it. You have to talk to them where it's come from, what they make it. And this is a good time to amend your soil as best as you can, whether you have compost, whether you have earthworm castings, biochar. This is the time to do it because you're not going to be able to go back down in there again to fix that. This is ideal time. And ideally, what you do is once you turn it over, you want to give it some time to settle down because you don't want to start planting things right away. But the cardboard is an amazing thing. So when you had turned it over, you put the cardboard down before. Actually, what I would do is put your drip line in there, and then put the cardboard on top of that, a couple of layers of cardboard, and then you start adding your soil amendments to it, whatever it is, the compost, whether it be earthworm casting. Throw it right on top of that, and ideally, you learn to add a couple of layers down the road. Once you get that together, you want to add a few more layers as you're growing. You're constantly adding layers to it, and you'll find that every once in a while you do want to have the cardboard because the cardboard is really the worms love it. It breaks down to organic matter. It's a wonderful tool to hold water, and then. But you'll be lucky that this is your chance to do the rice because the rice thing will really convert your property even more so than anything else you can do, especially if you bury it. And you also spray it. You make a liquid from that. You spray. So you can make from the rice. You can make a liquid. You spray, especially if the liquid is clean, it's filtered water, right? Or you can make it milk. Milk is a wonderful tool to use. You get a gallon of whole organic whole milk, that has the whole fat, the fat you actually want. And you put that in 2 or 3 gallons of clean distilled water. You can add a dash of Castile soap to it and spray. And you spray the leaves. The milk is wonderful for many reasons. One of the things is rich in calcium. So it becomes a natural fertilizer when you spray it, but it also, because of the natural bacteria, it encourages whatever bacteria, especially when it comes in contact with the rice, everybody starts to have a happy. You want to learn how to mulch the whole thing over. You want to have some type of a mulch that decomposes down. Because eventually, you're going to add another layer as that breaks down. It's like when you do your worm farm.
Yeah. Now, can people use the cardboard as a mulch? Like I use a lot of wood chips. Like I put my layers down, I put my compost down, and then I always put a layer on top, because compost is not mulch, people. Okay, mulch goes on top of the compost to hold the compost down and to keep moisture in the compost. Don't use your compost as mulch.
No.
So Andy, back to my question: can we use the cardboard as that mulch layer?
Yes, you can. And so some people don't like the cardboard because they can see it. No problem. Just throw something else on top of it that you like, whether it be the wood chips or a little bit of soil, a little bit of hay, anything to cover it up if you don't like. But you leave it alone for a little bit. It turns a nice brown color. It decomposes very nice. It makes excellent mulch. It's acid, totally clean. Doesn't have, even if my worms survive on, they love the cardboard. It doesn't, it's recycled ink, right? It doesn't have anything in it. The only thing you want to make sure when you do the cardboard, you take the tape off of it. Anything that's painted on it, and like a stamp, that's not the ink. You don't give them that. So you want to make sure that the cardboard is just cardboard by itself, nothing else on it, because a lot of times they'll have stickers, labels, all kinds of things. You get rid of those.
Yeah.
That will kill the worms.
Yeah. Yeah, like I actually have a mulcher, a shredder, chipper, and so we'll be doing the cardboard through that. Makes a really fine cardboard instead of putting the whole sheet of cardboard. But if you're gonna do cardboard, it's got to be a mulch, a shredder. You can't go cheap on that. Or I said chipper shredder, or else it's not going to be nice. Okay.
I use it for over here. I use a paper shredder. You're gonna put it in there. It comes out little strips.
You got a high grade shredder then.
Yeah. It just comes out little strips. I use them in my worm farm. Or since I was started here from the very beginning, I was able to put the cardboard into the soil before I turned it over at the very bottom with some rice down in there. Things are looking better and better now as they start to grow more. The only issue I've been having would be the gophers seem to like the rice. Oh
yeah, man! Hey, why not? Right?
Yeah. They seem to like the rice. The other day there was rice out of the gopher. I was watching. What's the matter? You don't like the rice? What's wrong with it? But you have an opportunity to do that. So, and then if you keep the water below ground, you have the water clean. So the transition is going to be in your mind too, because one of the things you also have to learn, and I didn't cover it here because there's so much stuff to cover, is what you grow, right? Your plants you're growing. You don't want to go to the nursery and buy junk stuff and then expect it to grow organically. You want to buy plants that are already grown organically, or seeds that are heirloom organic seeds. The rest of the stuff is not going to grow. Remember, a lot of this stuff chemically are also treated. They have this purple stuff around them with a fungicide, which will kill your biology. You're going to have to be very serious about what you bring into that property. And here's this thing too, is that if you don't have any worms, you have to keep an eye open for worms, because you don't want to kill any of your earthworms. That's why I talked about an earthworm farm was the best ways you can actually build an earthworm farm in your bed. So the worms are growing right in your bed. So what you're keying into, right, is growing worms. And if the worms grow on your property, right, and they start growing, moving out, because I do one little worm tower in each bed, and I basically take the worm from my worm farm, put them in there, and I feed the little worms. And they don't seem to want to go out too far into the garden, because it's still it's hydrophobic. A lot of it's still hydrophobic. About a foot down, it's still hydrophobic. And so I'm working on increasing the biology to make it so that it absorbs the water, so it becomes alive. And that's very important. That's why the earthworm farm is very good. You want to key into earthworms as one of the biggest transition, because they tell you if it's toxic. If your worms start to die on your property, you have a toxic property. One of the things you may want to do is to get a soil test and see for yourself what's toxic about it and how it's moving along. That's one of the things I do for some of my customers. I take a lab report at the beginning, a lab report after a year, another lab report at the end of the year, and you can see the difference. The pH changes, the toxicity level drops down, the salt, lots of salts are in these toxic environments because chemicals are salts, right? Fertilizers is a salt.
Yeah.
And so you want to key into the life of the earthworms. Okay, that's very, very important. And you can learn how to make a tea from all this stuff and spray it. When we talked about sprouts a long time ago, that's a perfect tea to make. When you want to make sprouts,
that's actually we should actually look at the one question because she was asking about teas. Let's see this one here. And this is from Monday's show. Also, what's the difference between worm castings or worm casting tea and compost or compost tea? What's going on with that?
Well, see, one is compost, which is different than a worm farm. Even though a worm farm produces compost, because the worms will actually make this wonderful compost. Usually the compost that you're making is not for worms, because if you're doing compost right, the worms will not like it when your compost is heating up, because you want your compost to heat up, right?
Okay, and Andy, I think we missed probably how I read it, but I think what she wants to know is, okay, do I make compost? Okay, here's compost over here, and then what's a compost tea? So Serena, basically, you take the compost and you process it and make it into a liquid that you spray. And same with a worm tea or a compost tea.
Well, I was
processing it.
I was trying to explain the difference between compost and worm tea. See, so there's a difference.
It's two separate questions, Andy. One was compost to compost tea. One's worm castings to worm casting tea.
Oh, I see. So what's the difference? There's not going to be a lot of difference in the bottom line in terms of nutrition, in terms of minerals, in terms of biology. They each have their own beneficials that come with it. The compost is a wider range of biology than the worm tea, because hopefully you're bringing a wider range of biology into the compost. Whereas the worms, you're just using the worms as your main biological source. But remember, when you make compost and it cools off, the worms will move into the compost. So you're going to end up having both anyway in the long run. It doesn't really matter. The main thing to do is just remember you're happy you have worms. If you don't have any worms, there's something wrong with your compost, because they won't like. They're not enjoying that.
And if you use your compost as your worm bedding, it even takes your it all to another level. You get vermicompost, so compost eaten by the worms. But if you're taking and what I do is I have my worm castings. I put them into a lady's pantyhose, a 5-gallon bucket, and I massage it and I make it so that the water turns a brown, dirty water. And that's stripping the biology out of the worm castings and making that worm tea. It's a really quick and easy way to do it. Then you put that into a sprayer and you can do a soil drench. You can use it as a foliar. It's very easy to do it that way. But that's just my easy way. Now, she's got another question, Andy. What can you tell me about water-soluble fertilizers versus compost?
Well, water-soluble fertilizer could be anything from a special blend that this company makes. It's in a liquid form, so there are a bunch of them on the market. Usually, they're not so biologically alive because of the nature of them being put in containers and shipped across the country, that kind of stuff, but they will not last very long. Whereas the compost, the key ingredient is living biology. That's a big difference. You can't put compost into a container and ship it across the country. Not going to work. So that's your main difference there. As a matter of fact, the fertilizer, liquid fertilizer, needs the compost to work better. If you take your liquid fertilizer and dump it, spray it around a property that has no soil, no biology, not going to work. It has some nutrition available to it, but it's not going to work. You're going to find you got to get the compost, put that down, get that going, and then that liquid fertilizer will work better.
Well, the biggest reason that I know of for that, Andy, is there's no organic material in a lot of the soils, and without that organic material, the biology has no place to live, and it's got no food source.
Exactly,
you have to have both.
That's why it doesn't work. That's why it doesn't work. You have to have both. So great to have a liquid organic fertilizer. There are a lot of people that say it doesn't work. I said, well, what are you doing? Do you have soil? No. Well, there you go. You don't have any living soil.
Not any organic material for the biology to live on? Oh, well, hey, you just sprayed it on there and it died. Oh, great for you.
It's like a doctor giving you this medicine and your stomach is dead. So how is that going to work?
They cut your arm off, but they're putting the intravenous in the arm that's gone, you know.
I'm looking like a garden. What does that mean? You like the roses, the flowers?
Oh,
I got sunflower there, sunflower over here.
Yeah, nice shirt, she says. I
have sunflower underwear, sunflower socks.
Oh man, we're going too far now.
The only thing I don't have is sunflower pants.
Okay. So Serena has another question, and it's about harvesting onions. She's got really heavy clay soil, and she wants to pull the onions out. Is it better to have the soil moist, wet, dry? Lily answered it saying wet is better, but what's your opinion, Andy?
I think wet it a little bit so it'll break up a lot faster. If it's dry, you could actually damage the plants trying to pull them up and break them up also as well, you know.
Yeah. Now, Andy, she's got that heavy clay soil. You know, I would suggest her adding some sand in as well as organic material. Would you concur with that? Like when she works that soil up this fall, you know, pulling those onions out, would that be about the right thing you would do?
We have heavy clay over here in California, heavy clay soil, and it doesn't breathe very well. And so you do want to lighten it up. You do want to amend it. Your plants will do a lot. I'm surprised you're growing onions in heavy clay soil because they have to. It's a big bulb thing underground, isn't it? Isn't onions under? No, they're on top, are they, with the roots? That's right.
Yeah, generally the bulb forms on top of the soil.
Yeah. So onions is probably one of those plants that will grow really well in heavy clay soil because they're very, very forceful. An idea would be you make onion tea and spray the onion on your property. You'll find that you'll be spraying the onion biology on that property more, and it would help to break it up as well. So any plant that grows really well in an environment you want it to grow, that's the plant you want to get more biology of.
Yeah. So anybody that's out there, if you've got a heavy clay soil, break it up first, and add organic material and like the rice, the cooked rice, and add the cooked rice as well as the uncooked rice right into the soil to help kickstart things. But don't just try to plant into a heavy clay compacted soil or any type of compacted soil.
They do that here all the time.
Exactly. And that's why they fail all the time and say it doesn't work. Or do the lasagna method, or put in wood chips, 10 inches or 12 inches of wood chips, but let them sit for a year first before you try planting into them.
So what happens here is that these guys go dig a hole to plant something in, right?
Yeah.
In this hard clay soil. They dig a hole. So it's basically a container. And here you have, and if you're lucky, if your plant's lucky, they'll have some good soil in there, but very rarely compost. So it's in this container. Now the roots start going out, and immediately it touches clay soil. They go, yeah, yeah, right, yeah, right. And they
And
don't
the
do
other
very
thing,
much.
it's a bathtub. So if you're watering into it and the water doesn't penetrate through that clay, you're drowning your plant too.
Right, the water will sit right in there, just sitting in the water.
Yeah.
I had this company customer wanted to plant some palm trees in the clay. They dug a hole and they did everything, and I said, "It's not going to drain. Where's the water going to go?" Because they hooked up a drip system to it, right? And and sure enough, it was looking bad. So I said, "You know what you got to do, right? You have to see what's going on down there." So I got a post hole digger and went down. It was water that deep, sitting in water.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a real bad thing. And that's why when I was telling people, to work up your soil, if you're going to use the rototiller, to go in behind with that broad fork so that you don't have that compaction layer. But heavy, deep clay, like it's really hard to get started there. You really have to bring in a lot of organic material. And like I was saying, some heavy grain sand, it really does help and it holds a lot of moisture.
And what happens too is that the plant may grow, but it will have diseases and it will have
Yeah.
pests. And the sand helps. If nothing else, it allows more air in there, more porous. It
Yeah.
holds,
Yeah.
it allows, and the sand usually is a different. The clay is a very high alkaline environment. It's
Mm-hmm.
never very. You're never going to find clay that's even 7.2, usually 7.4 or even higher. The biology likes 6.8, so you have a wide range over there that the biology is not going to. You're not going to get. And that's what you really have to key into. That's why pH is very important to understand. If I were you, I would see what pH your clay is, and you'll find it's going to be very alkaline. And you have
Yeah.
so the sand is going to be slightly acid. That's why you want to do things to your soil. So your mulch should be acid. Even the compost is going to be a little bit alkaline because when you make compost, it takes a while for it to mellow down to become more neutral and to start slowly coming down to the pH range that you want. I was looking at this thing and she talked that he has a lot of questions. He was talking about the this one. So what is that? What is going on there? Is that
Um, is
jug
there
loan?
anything food that what the people can grow that
What's jug loan?
I'm thinking like a chemical or something?
Because I know that the black walnut tree produces a chemical and usually drops in the leaves and stuff like that. So he doesn't say if you're growing it under the black walnut tree, which is not a good idea. But the tree doesn't need to be removed. I don't know anything about the jug loan.
Yeah, she's yeah, she's got the black walnut. Oh my, moved here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I plant some sunflower seeds, help to break up that clay soil. I think she's talking about the same soil that was the onions in as
Yeah.
well. So
Anyway, so you have to be patient. You're going to have the process. It's learning. It takes you a while to, instead of reaching for a chemical or for something that you want to spray, just have to remember the long-term and short-term solutions, right? So the long-term solution is you're converting the whole property, bringing it back to life. That's a long-term thing. It takes time to heal. Don't expect it in
yeah,
a month. Don't expect it in a year. If you're lucky, if you in a couple of years you can start getting the results you want. And
yeah,
only if you're really very good at constantly bringing in the biology. You have to reverse it. It's the other way around now. The biology is constantly being attacked.
yeah. Well,
You want to
see,
reverse.
and if it's somebody that's starting a garden, you can take that bad dirt and create that living soil in that first season. But for what you do, Andy, because you're only going to a property once a month, yeah, it's going to take a long, long time, and only if you bring in the other components. But for someone that really wants to, to plant the garden this coming spring, do the work now. It might take you putting organic material in
Yep.
every, like constantly putting in, mulches and compost. The more you add, the faster life is going to come back. But for Andy, for your business, where you're only going out once a month to these properties, it's going to take a long time for them, and especially if they're not doing what needs to be done other than just the sprays.
Right. So it's an educational process, because I basically say, okay, I'm going to do this, but you're going to do this.
Yeah.
And every time they don't do that, and they complain about why is this not happening, right? Well, you're not doing this. I got one customer, maybe 7 months, 8 months, maybe a year I've been going to there. And the first thing I said was, okay, so you're going to have to buy compost. And I want you to buy this compost. I refer to Layton's compost because that's the one I refer my customers to. And I want you to buy this particular mulch. I want the gardener, your gardener, to turn the compost over with your soil that you have there. Turn it over and then mulch it over. And if you don't, and the sooner you do that, the sooner my spraying will have a place to live, and the sooner the property will start, the soil will start. It takes a while. First of all, the soil has to heal. Secondly, then your tree has to heal because the root systems are not working. So those two take time. And I tell people, how long have you been living here? 20 years? Well, you're lucky if it doesn't take 20 years to get it back in shape again.
Well, especially with the gardeners, like if you were doing the gardening and the spraying and you were doing the whole thing, Andy, you could flip those properties around fast. But their gardeners are coming in, taking all the organic material away, spraying chemicals, not doing the what needs to be done organically because they have no clue. And that's, I think, is the biggest frustration for Andy Lopez, the invisible gardeners. You go in, you fix things, but yet the other people doing work on that property are just screwing it up even worse. And how can you fix it if they keep screwing it up?
Right. And so I have maybe 5 customers that I've had since '84, and 3 of them I was the gardener. I recently stopped saying. I told them I'm not going to be your gardener anymore, but I'm going to keep coming here. You got this gardener who I'm going to work with, and he's going to do what I tell him to do, and he's going to follow through. And even there, you still get the gardeners who, I went and bought this instead. I decided to get this instead. And I go, what? Why did you do that for? Because that's junk. And your customer, you work for this customer, and the customer wants it luscious and beautiful. That's what happens. It doesn't take very long. If I'm there, I was one place twice a week. And I've had it since 1984. People stop by and go, what is going on here? You have hibiscus that doesn't have whiteflies on it. You have beautiful lawns, beautiful property. Everything just takes off. It goes bing, like that, because I provide the liquid biology and the biology in the ground, and because you need to have a building for the warriors or the workers to live in, or the gardeners to live in. It doesn't work otherwise. And so, it's very frustrating. When I was young, I used to do the whole process, and it doesn't take. It sometimes is like a rubber band effect. Within a few months, you go, "What happened?" Because the roots, it's never totally dead. It's never, like you said, it's in there waiting for something to trigger it. And when you bring this the compost to it, it sends a signal to the rest of them. Oh, great!
Well, it's got water, it's got moisture, it's got air. It's like, oh my gosh, the term is, they go into hibernation. The biology, when it starts to dry out, guys, they cyst up, they grab a little bit of food, a little bit of water, they form a hard crust, and they go to sleep, and they can be there for decades upon decades sleeping. When you bring the soil back to life, when you bring the organic material back in, you lift the soil up, it's getting air and moisture. All of a sudden, that comes back. We see it in potted plants, in indoor growths all the time, where the soil goes hydrophobic, it dries out. But once it's moisturized back up, it comes back to life.
So
But
you remember?
yeah,
You remember when I didn't show up one day and because I went to see this lady who wrote a book
yes, yeah,
the intraterrestrials,
yep,
and she discovered this living organisms miles underneath the earth. They're millions of years old,
mm-hmm.
and they go into this hibernation stage. They wait until the time is right for them to come out. And sometimes what happens, you have an earthquake, which kind of shakes and brings them back up to the surface, and they get
Yeah,
oxygen.
yeah.
All of a
A
sudden,
big
they're alive again.
mudslide.
Yeah, all of a sudden they're alive again. They're
Yeah,
functioning, and a lot of them are deep underneath the ocean. They found the lady was on the way to Antarctica. Underneath there's this biology living under there that nobody's ever seen before,
yeah,
and a lot of them are like you said, in hibernation. They just hang out until their time is right, and that's what happens when you start reintroducing the things that they know happen. Mother Nature does that. You take everybody away, the animals will come back. They'll start reintroducing. Birds will start pooping. Animals, all kinds of things start to happen again. I tell people,
yeah,
when was the last time an animal died in your backyard? Those are the things that trigger the biology to start growing again, to start
yeah.
alive again. You know that we do everything the opposite. We city water, everything, chemicals geared to destroy the biology. So no wonder the biology says, "I'll be back maybe in 1,000 years when you people are gone."
Well, have you ever watched the series where it shows where so many days after humanity's gone, and it goes and it shows like the Tower slowly rusting and falling, but it's like that it will all come back. It'll break up everything. Biology's eating the plastic, the microplastics, etc.
This 1,000 years from now, will be no sign of the human race.
Exactly. Well, the pyramids will probably still be there because they were
Maybe.
built of stone.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Maybe.
why they're still there now in
Yeah.
our lifetime, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, modern society will just be poof gone.
So
Okay.
what we have to realize first is that, and that's one thing I love about this show is that it's all about the biology. So if you want to convert, you want to become organic, you have to concentrate on the biology. You want to say, really, this is all about it's not about me, it's about the biology. I want to bring the biology back to this particular place on my planet right here. And that's what you want to do. You want to do everything you can in your power. So you have to say, is this good for the biology? No. Just like I go out to dinner sometimes with my friends and they're eating and I'm going, this is not good for me. Is this good for me? No, I'm not good. You guys can do that, but your biology is hurting. I can see that. When you get sick, that means your biology is hurting. Duh,
Yeah.
right?
Well, if you're eating the food off your property and it's not growing with biology and it's growing with chemical fertilizers, you're putting those poisons directly into your system. But if it's growing organically, your food, your field where your chickens are and your cattle are is all done with biology, all of a sudden you're transitioning to 100% organic, and then your biology and you become a lot healthier and happier. And like Andy can't go out to eat with his friends because people that are in the restaurant industry, it's organic, yeah, but we use this seed oil and this seed oil, and
this
all of a
water.
sudden, we use the city water.
I actually do you have a water filtration system in your water? He laughs. He wants a water filtration system in our water. So I learned the hard way. Not really the hard way. I just knew about it because when I started gardening, I would get sent to Puerto Rico. My family owned a big farm in Puerto Rico, and I remember as a kid, I used to pull a carrot out and I would go wash it right before I eat it. And I remember I don't know if I told you, my great grandmother said, "Put it back in the ground. Okay, now take it out and eat it. Crunch it with the soil and everything." And I always remember that. And I still do to this day. I don't, when I take out a radish, I just eat it. I don't have to worry about,
I wipe the bulk of the dirt off,
Oh, come on.
But
You can
especially
shake it a
with
little
wet
bit.
soil.
You can shake it a little bit. But I truly believe inside It's literally inside that my stomach enjoys having, like, you talk about you get the worm castings you take as a pill.
Yeah.
Yeah, your jokes are good. But I love your jokes. I wasn't watching the comments when I was doing the streaming thing.
Guys, Serena loves the jokes, and we love them too. Yeah, Serena, just keep going, sweetheart. Keep going. Like it, everything, guys. Part of it, like we talk a lot. We're talking about the soil, but we do talk about energy, frequency, vibration, and that is part of the equation. If you are mean and nasty and you're angry and you're going into your garden, your plants, you're going to get a natural reaction, guys. Whether you believe it or not, you will get your plants aren't going to like that. If you go in all happy and positive, you're happy to be out there in the sun and in the dirt, your plants are going to react just like your animals react to love. Your plants react to love too.
Right. That's why my music is called Inner Gardening, and it originally was made to be played to the plants and to the insects.
It's live.
You're
on the live, Peter.
This is live replay. I'm guessing this is a live replay.
This isn't a clip. This is the full hour-long show on Wednesdays that you're on. So you're actually on the live, Peter. You caught a live, buddy.
So next show we're going to be doing on bricks and the refractometer. And I want to tell you,
what's the name of your chapter exactly? Is bricks. What is it, and how is it important?
Yeah. And we're talking about a refractometer too. And now here's the thing that you guys can do. There's a free bricks book, ebook I can send you. Plus, I also give you my Don't Panic, It's Organic ebook as well. Just go to my website. Those of you that already have it, great. If you don't have the bricks book and you only got the natural pest control book, just email me again or go through the newsletter. There's a question. It's a way you can click on the email which goes to me directly. I think yesterday I got 38,000 emails, and I can't go through that. I can't look for your email anymore. I give up. I put my email on the website. That's a bad thing to do. It's being sold on the black market, I think.
Mm-hmm. So if you want the physical copy, go to his website, use his link. Okay.
So we're going to be doing the bricks and refractometer. So you want to get that little bricks book because they will tell you what your fruit trees, what your vegetables, the bricks reading should be, and it also explains the refractometer more there. So that's the way you can follow through with the conversation here. And of course, please visit my website, check it out. Lots of stuff going on over there. Lots of stuff going on over here. Feel free to ask questions. That's why we're both here. We're both here to help you. Be the best that you can be, and have your garden be the best that you can be. So thank you very much for being here. I really love it. Wood chips on the surface do not blend into the soil. It steals the nitrogen in the soil in order to break it down. That's all right. Yeah. The only thing about the wood chips is that on the surface, the mycorrhiza will grow on the wood chips.
And you want that. You want to see mushrooms popping up, guys. Yeah. It's actually really good.
Yeah, lately, when I've been going to customers, they call me up and say, "There's mushrooms growing on my lawn. Oh my God, what are we going to do?" I said, "Leave it alone. That's a good sign. No, it's not psychedelic mushrooms. No, they're not toxic. That just means that mushrooms growing on the mycorrhiza. If the mycorrhiza is there, something's going on that's good down there, and that's what you want. The earthworms will love it. One guy said, "I got earthworms. So I've been killing them. What are you doing? What is going on wrong with you?"
Well, he's used them for fishing.
Oh yeah. So it's a process of just learning to be in touch with Mother Nature. That's what it's really all about. It's really all about the biology. It's so amazing that you came up with that slogan because it explains it very, very nice. I used to tell people, microbes, right? Right? They go, "What the heck is that?" Right? What the heck is that? The Organic Gardening magazine was "Don't feed the plants, feed the soil." They should have said, "Don't feed the plants, feed the biology."
Andy, they didn't actually understand. Like, it's only in the last few years that I've really been pushing this, idea, and I'm starting to see it more and more on other channels where they're, you know, pushing actual biology, not microbiology or anything, but just all the biology. Because guys, if you don't understand all organic life, plant, animal, human, it doesn't matter if it's organic life, it relies on cell division. Cell division relies on the biology. And
Otherwise, no
that's
planet.
why it's all about the biology. Guys, tomorrow the ladies are back on this chiropractic is sexy. On Monday, we've got Gardner Scott coming back on. He should be talking about one of his new book, and he's on with Leighton Morrison on Monday, guys. So don't forget, we are on here next week talking about bricks. So we'll see you guys next week. Andy, say goodbye.
Go back. Oh, come on.